Welcome to
SEO.com.
Conspiracy.
How are you, Laurent, today?
Beautiful. And yourself?
I'm not doing so badly. I mean, lockdown is, starting to make my legs wither away. But apart from that, I'm doing right.
I love lockdown because I can have you on my podcast.
Yeah, well, I've got nothing else to do, so may as well. So, what are we talking about today then?
Structured data, something that is very relevant to InLinks, what you're doing right now, and very relevant to SEO. Is it just mandatory? Is it important? Is it
a significant
huge
ranking factor?
Exactly.
Yeah, and if so, how do you know? How can we tell? So,
and just to prepare the discussion, I think we have two levels here. We have, do you start from zero, you have no structured data and you put them in, or you have structured data and then everybody has structured data. What's going on then?
Yeah. So, I mean, right at the start of structured data, I mean, I think you can go too far. You can definitely go too far. But also, if you don't have any, I think increasing that's going to be a huge problem for most people. So we did I think the first things first, there's so many different types of structured data that you can now put onto your content and your website that
and they change all the time.
Absolutely. It's a very, shall we say, agile system. And I think the easy stuff people are putting on, so you can use, Yoast plugin or, a sort of a reasonably easy plugin to just add, your organization name and the authors and various simple things. But they tend to be the same structured data across every page for your website, which really doesn't help a computer to filter out much differentiation between pages. And
I don't even see the point of using a plugin to put like just this type of. You can just bake it into your theme anyway. If it's
exactly.
Yeah.
So you can put it into the theme. So you could do it in many other ways. I think that then people are trying to, overpack one set of schema onto loads and loads of pages, that rapidly becomes not so useful. But there's lots and lots of instances, including loads of things that InLinks doesn't get involved in, where I think a schema really helps. There's so many different styles, from recipes to how-tos to events to whatever it may be. The whole point of structured data is to try and help a search engine convert human-led text into stuff that could be read and interpreted much better by a machine, or more efficiently by a machine. So if you think about it from that point of view, then it's great. But we're SEOs, and so our main focus should be on how to get Google to analyze the content or understand the content in the text, rather than who it's by or where it was built or what company is behind it and things like that. All those things, I suppose, are important, but they're simple. The real important thing is to try and get that meaning through to that engine. So for us, about schema is so they're about to mention schema types that we use at InLinks. We did a very broad test in a Facebook group back in January 2020, which was had 20-30 different SEOs all taking about schema and putting it into their sites. Some of them putting it in as using the InLinks tool, some of them doing it of their own accord or whatever. And we definitely saw an uplift. There was different people, different types of sites, and the report, the case study for it is on inlinks.net in the blog on the case study section. So there was definitely an uplift. The ones that put it in properly, the uplift was better. I think there's the thing about schema, which is a pain in the neck, is that HTML. Google and Microsoft and browsers have become very good at forgiving bad HTML, and the page still loads and the users can still see it, and it's got, you know, errors and broken bits all over it and nobody really knows. Schema, though, is much more exact, and hard coding schema is pretty difficult. I'd say, but then I'm not a programmer, so everything's difficult when it comes to programming for me. But getting that schema right is not so easy. So Google has the structured data testing tool, which hopefully they're not. I don't know. They said they were going to get rid of it, which is really annoying if they get rid of it.
No. It's the URL indexing tool that they take away.
Yeah, okay, but I think they might be. So they moved. So they had the structured data testing tool, and then they said they moved towards a rich text.
Okay.
A snippet tool, basically. And the annoying thing about a snippet tool is that they don't test for about and mention schema, because about and mention schema isn't a rich snippet. It's not in a rich snippet. So if you go and try and put about and mention schema and test it in a rich snippet testing tool, they're not testing for it. So it doesn't really pick it up or notice it. So hopefully they won't get rid of the structured data testing tool, because it's a very useful tool.
But if you have inlinks, why would I need Google's tool?
Oh, no, you don't need it, because the only thing is, for me, it's nice to show that, you know, Google's structured data testing tool shows our schema working perfectly without any errors or bugs or whatever. So if they then get rid of that tool, then it's a pain in the neck, because then then people are putting the page and testing it in a rich snippet tool, and there is no rich snippets for about schema. So you know, the rich snippets for about schema is the core search engine, if anything. So that's just a personal thing, really, and getting people to understand that the schema is properly configured and stuff. But I think about schema does help. I think there's certainly use for having many other types of schema if your content or your page warrants it. But a lot of the other schema is all about those rich snippets. Are you seen in the events or the carousel or whatever? And so they're for different types of results compared to pure content. If you see what I mean. What do you think?
I was thinking that the first time I used some time of structured data was in 2005. I'll get into it in 1 minute.
Probably didn't work quite so well then.
No. Hold on.
I'm still using meta keywords.
It was not structured data, but I'll get back to it. My first keynote on the topic was probably like 2012. So it's been a while. And it's still so fresh and new and growing and ever changing that my vision for the future is, and it goes a little bit with AMP and the way Google of the future, with augmented reality, with the chip in our brain, with us streaming 24/7, they need really, that's why they need something really not forgiven, like you said before. You know, when they will need speed, they will need information to be really well calibrated to for this future that is really like near future, not science fiction in 100 years. But to go back to the 2005 experiment, affiliate links for poker and using the define operator to get definite. November 2005, I did one page about poker. At the end of the month, I made $800. I was like, oh, there's something to be done there. So I went flat out and I made so much money because people were looking to learn. They wanted to learn how to play poker. So they searched all those keywords related to the rules and so on. So it was the position 0 way before the position 0 because you had a nice snippet and so on.
All right.
And you had to structure the content for like a glossary or dictionary type of. So it wasn't really anything fancy, but it was the beginning. Now the problem that I saw back then and I see now is, so yes, like you said, if you don't have structured data and you put them on, huge increase. It's groundbreaking. It's
It can be, yeah.
It can be really groundbreaking. However, when everybody, and especially all those authority, quote unquote, websites put them on, then you disappear because you're not that big as them.
Okay, well, here's an interesting thing. I mean, one of the case studies that we've got on the blog at the moment is a guy, Rod Gardner, and he let us put the case study up there, where they're ranking in the UK for SEO consulting, and it was number one for SEO consulting, and I think it was just structured data and a little bit of realizing that there was missing a topic or whatever. He did a few things there, and the interesting thing is that I think he's now getting beaten by Neil Patel. But anyway, so he's number two. It's still a bit of work. But I've noticed that a few of my other customers are using it as well. And I've seen 3 or 4 of my customers for that phrase. I won't say who they are because that'd be unfair to them. But so clearly the methodology is working, but these are not necessarily the big sites. So the really big sites, the Mozzies in SEO or the search engine journals and those guys that can really wield some of their power, they're competing quite well. So I think the thing about structured data is it's better. It's not really defining the power of a page so much as refining the meaning of the page.
Exactly.
It's saying, right, it's about this laser thing. But the biggest problem I foresee is people treating schema a bit like meta keywords and stuffing them with crap, because they're actually going to make their world worse, but they're not understanding that if you try and say this page is about I don't know, something really big, the White House, and you've got a White House that's in your village, then you're not referring to the entity that's relevant, and you're just mixing up the signals, and you're probably going to make things worse. But it's not easy to explain why that's the case, and so people are have a tendency to say, "Oh, my name's Dixon Jones. I haven't got a Wikipedia page, but Dixon Jones, the architects, has got a Wikipedia page." They've gone bust, but they've got a Wikipedia page. Maybe I'll just link to that Wikipedia page, and it's still the word Dixon Jones. And I think that's a huge mistake for people. So there is a bit of understanding required to say, let's not take the piss like SEOs usually do, and try and take big, The problem with SEOs is they take shiny things and break them. Oh, there's something new. Let's just dive in, and this time it probably won't work.
And going back to my timeline about structured data, that first public talk was about, and back then was the review stars. Okay, it was all about getting all those.
That was really where it
shiny stars, and talking to Google, the Google said, "Okay, here he goes. We launch it. We let you guys spam it, so we understand how you spam it." And again, that was, I think, 2012. So let's say almost 10 years ago. And the problem 10 years later is still the same. How can you trust what people put inside those?
Yeah. And that's a problem with and without the structured data. So it's not the structured data that's the problem. It's the fact that people are putting up fake reviews is the problem. Okay. I mean, your structured data might fake those reviews quite easily, but the truth of the matter is, faking reviews is where the problem is. Oh, fake news. However, what a surprise. What a surprise on the internet.
And it can go very far. Do you remember what Burger King did with Google Assistant? The Google, how do you call it? The Google Home, the device?
Go on. Tell us all.
Okay. They did they changed the Wikipedia page of Burger King or hamburger. I forgot what it was. And the TV ad was turning on the Google Home or Google Assistant device and reading the Wikipedia thing that was manipulated to. So.
And I bet it started reading it as soon as somebody said McDonald's.
And it didn't go so well for Burger King as far as, hey guys, don't turn on my device from a distance.
They've been doing that sort of thing all the way through their world, though. I saw a program. This is going away from SEO. I saw a program on Burger King versus McDonald's and Burger King's strategy of taking down McDonald's at every possibility.
But you don't even need to buy an ad on TV. You could have a web page read something out loud and turn on the device. The possibilities are endless to abuse that system.
Yeah.
And going back to Google's point of view, I understand them. They prefer to say, okay, I'll put on Wikipedia because I know that's pretty much safe.
Yeah.
And too bad for the small players. I don't know what to tell you guys. You enjoy it while it lasts, but you can't.
I think though. I mean, that's one thing that Inlinks is very good at, because it runs natural language processing algorithms over the content first. It provides about schema that is relevant to the content, and we know it's a direct match. Well, I mean, we might make errors. We might, associate tower bridge with a tower and a bridge, but we're unlikely to start spamming the system. And I think that without a natural language processing algorithm to try and inform your motivation when you're writing schema, or without some other kind of care, maybe machine learning kind of care, you will have a tendency as a human being to over egg it. And I think that's probably going to end up as a dangerous place. But and I think it'll be quite easy for Google to spot. I mean, I think Google will sit there and say, well, you've just said that this is about, a blue widget on the page, but you're not. You're talking about green widgets, or snake oil or whatever. So,
what's very interesting about Inlinks is not just about the quick win of appearing into the snippets on the Google SERP. It's really about helping the search engine understand the meaning of the page.
Yeah, that's the whole point of it, for sure. Yeah.
So,
and also focusing on which of your pages. If you've mentioned 20 pages about blue widgets, unless you help, in this case with the internal links, but unless you help tell Google which one is the one about blue widgets, this one's about blue widgets in the context of the UK, and this one's about blue widgets in the context of topic this topic here or this topic there, then you're going to cannibalize your content. So it helps to uncannibalize your content.
That's also another point. And my plugin, Rank for Win, doesn't deal with structured data, but where we are competing is about how to link smartly, because the worst case scenario is you take one of those plugins where you enter a list of keywords, and every time the keyword appears somewhere in the content, builds a link. All the press websites, many blogs are using that plugin. It's bad. It's not smart.
And your Rank to Win tool is really good at building those silos up and those topic trees really into getting people to understand, whether it's a machine or a human being, really, that they'll end up in the right place at the right time, hopefully.
Whether it's on the page, around the page, or even with backlinks, it's all about who is in relation to what and why. And even at a certain, I will include time at a certain time into the.
Oh, really?
The
You're going to put some kind of time metric here? It's at a point in time you should be here.
No, it doesn't matter for Google. It's from a SEO strategy point of view. Is when do you build that link, or when do you build that page, for what purpose? Meaning the page itself is an entity, has a life on its own, and then how does it help within the structure? What is that role? And that role can be more or less impactful with time. So when do you? But that's
interesting to see that.
And we even I read on our patent king Bill Swalski's blog. Also, they're up to phrases, not only just words. Now it's up to which phrase at the right place, at the right time, and also
absolutely.
They try to identify authors with patterns of language and how people write. So it's definitely beyond this whole. We always say, don't talk about keywords anymore. Talk about entities, clusters, silos, ideas, concept, whatever.
Yeah, I would be I would be surprised if they are actually. If they're trying to associate a style of writing to an individual author, I don't think they're there yet. I mean, maybe Bill's got something. Maybe there's a patent there that does it. But
Bill believes they are. Because
I think if they can make the association through some kind of through author structured data or an association with a piece of content linking back to a LinkedIn profile or somewhere that they know about a particular author there, and make that as a connection, then possibly. But I think that's got to be structured data driven or in some way.
No, it's language footprint. But an author can write differently depending on the publication. Okay, if it's a newspaper or a book, the author can have a totally different style. But we're getting sidetracked a little bit here, because to end up on structured data, let's say that also be careful what you wish for, because you will be scrapped. That's the whole point. You make Google but easier for Google to scrap your page and return the information, but also those other
to
people
use it against you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The problem is that this is the fundamental problem for SEO right now, is that there's one job of getting Google to understand what your meaning is. It's a completely different job to make sure they don't effectively take that data and steal it and use it as their own, because you've then informed them of the knowledge behind that information, and they don't need to send you some stuff. That's a part of your business model has to be.
Do we have numbers for how much Wikipedia lost with the knowledge graph?
No. Well, there probably is, and there must be. I mean, you could probably use. Probably someone surely did a SEMrush thing at the time. But,
how Wikipedia lost 3 billion organic search? Ooh.
Yeah, they did, but they did get an awful lot of money.
That's
Google finances them.
That's SimilarWeb, who did the zero-click effect.
Right. Okay.
If they really did lose 3 billion organic search in 2019. I just Google quickly this. That's huge. That's just humongous. I mean, wow.
Entirely possible as well. I think it's there is a real cost to it, but at the same time, once you understand that, you've got to make sure that your business model can cope with it. So I don't know how everybody else's model is, but what we've got is. So on Inlinks, we have a trend tracking tool. So we've got like a sort of Google Trends on steroids kind of thing. And so what we've done is we've made all of the marketing category easy to crawl. So Google can crawl the marketing category. So you can sit there and potentially Google could say, oh, the interest in PPC is growing, and scrape our data for that. Hopefully they'll cite us. But ultimately, if somebody then wants to use the data, then they're going to use it in the automobile category, where we don't share that. You've got to be a customer, you've got to be logged in, and that's behind a firewall. So we're trying, and also the data is very dynamic. So ultimately, you can't, by using dynamic data instead of evergreen information. Evergreen information, Google's going to eat up, because ultimately it's pretty hard to patent knowledge. You can't sit there and in the UK anyway, and in Europe, a mathematical formula can't be patented. I mean, it can be in the US, and it's weird. I mean, you can't patent gravity, but in America you could. If you're the first one to discover gravity, you could patent it. Well, it doesn't make the fact that everybody else is using gravity illegal. Well, maybe it does in America, and I don't understand US patent law from that point of view.
It's a country where you can call a brand Apple.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's, yeah. Well, Apple Music was Beatles had a brand called Apple. They had a big law case over it as well.
It's crazy that you can.
We've probably gone past our segment time already. Yes. Probably overdone it. What are we going to talk about next time?
Okay, this next topic is about should you only use what's called top-level domains, .com, eventually .org, .net, or all those loads of fancy new domains. Can they rank, or
.shop?
.ninja, .guru.
Yeah.
They got very creative on some of those, actually.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for watching.
Cheers. Bye, guys.